Good evening, I'm Bradford Arick. Thanks for joining us tonight. They tell me this quickly turned into a recovery instead of a rescue. But less than 24 hours ago, this wasn't even a road at all. The water is very murky. There was an earlier heavy thunderstorm that moved through this area, washing debris, sediment, and just more water into the river. So that is impeding the divers right now this evening. Starts about a mile from St. Albans, and once you get in this lane, you are stuck all the way past the Taze Valley exit. Christine, a Fargo police detective, called this sickening and disgusting. You'd feel it if your vehicle runs over something that punctures your tires, right? And Chad, just heartbreaking details in this situation. And that went into effect today includes a rise in cigarette prices. Hall, as far as we know, never came out, and after what sounded like gunshots, that's when that house went up in flames. The crew's hard at work now getting at those derailed cars. Several power lines are down across the area. We have severe weather warnings and that high heat and humidity for everybody. That 92-year-old man passed away early this morning. Is that how you're still able to operate, is because you
excuse me, thank you.
The hot June sun has dried out most of the mud and debris that's left here on Monmouth Street, but less than 24 hours ago, this wasn't even a road at all. Viewer video sent to us shows a raging creek covering Monmouth Street in St. Albans, and water overflowing into yards and garages after a quick moving storm dumped several inches of rain.
Not for me to decide when it's going to rain like this. It's Big Daddy up above.
Jack Browder, who is 87 years old, is just one of the folks along Monmouth cleaning up today after several inches or so of water swept through the yard into his garage, leaving behind slippery mud and muck.
It's material things in life you can always replace.
Other folks living along the street say they're dealing with broken AC units, soggy furniture, and even one family having to rip up their new $2,000 basement flooring.
There's not a stormwater system around that's going to contain and hold all that water.
St. Albans Mayor Scott James says there was just too much water too fast Sunday night. Folks on Monmouth say they believe clogged storm drains led to the flash flooding, but the mayor says not so fast.
We cleaned it out completely. Took us 6 weeks to do that. And this is the first time that there's been flooding on that street since we cleaned it out.
The mayor says the city will continue to clean storm drains and is also working to find a more permanent fix to some of these issues. Bradford Arick, WSAZ News Channel 3, St. Albans. Yeah, Amanda, jail officials say the communication breakdown all comes down to a missing fax. But court officials say the jail should have already had all the information they needed to keep more behind bars. Cabell County court officials tell us they sent a fax over to the jail last November, alerting them to the charges against Donald Moore and his $1 million bond. Jail officials claim they never got that fax, and the information was never put into Moore's file, so they didn't know he was facing charges in Cabell County. For that reason, jail officials say Moore was able to make bail on his separate charges from Lincoln County. It's an incident that's left neighbors like Brenda Huff Clark, who lives just down the road from the jail, on edge.
I would hate to shoot somebody, but I wouldn't hesitate if it was for my protection.
Huff Clark says she had no notification Moore was mistakenly freed until we told her today.
That's real frustrating. I mean, we have a teenager that lives with us, and it is when you're out in your yard and you don't know that somebody's loose that shouldn't be.
The inmate was free for more than 24 hours, but that's little consolation for a worried neighbor. Now, Brenda Huff Clark says she's always keeping an eye on people who pass by for the safety of her family. As for Donald Moore, he's back behind bars as both the cases involving sex abuse charges out of Lincoln and Cabell counties are ongoing. Chants, singing, downright bedlam at times. It was an emotional day for hundreds at the Capitol, day 9 of the teacher strike. The first cheers as the bill passed committee and Governor Justice waded into the fray. How excited is everybody?
Oh, well, just look around. I think we're all elated.
But we fought back, didn't we?
Lawmakers emerged to address the crowds on the Senate steps. More thundering excitement as the bill is walked from the House through the crowd to the Senate.
We were downstairs so we could hear, and as soon as we heard their offer, we ran upstairs to immediately be with everyone that's been here fighting because we knew it would just be so much excitement.
And with the Senate's passage, pandemonium.
Very excited.
exciting. I've never been a part of anything like this before, and I'm very glad to be a part of it.
It's been a long 9 days with hourly emotional ups and downs. Union leaders we talked with said many finally feel like what they're doing, having the presence at the Capitol day in and day out, has made a difference. Bradford Arick, WSAZ News Channel 3, Charleston. From the air and from the ground, this is just a mess. Mangled steel and mined coal littering the rail lines in St. Albans. Such a sight, Kim Darby came to take pictures.
I live close to the railroad tracks, and anything like this could happen.
Her concern is shared by first responders who are keeping a close eye on the cleanup.
The location where it's at, there's two main water tributaries that flow in.
St. Albans Police Chief Joe Crawford says his officers and other first responders have been monitoring the derailment, worried passing heavy rains could wash the coal away, contaminating nearby waters.
The good thing about it was coal and not tank cars or hazardous materials. Could have been a lot worse.
Truck after truck dropped off heavy equipment and even sections of new rail as they rushed to start cleaning up. Side booms picked up this coal car, dumped it out, and set it off to the side of the track, while an excavator tore at the crunched steel cars. And crews expect to work through the next 48 hours to get this all cleaned up. CSX saying their first priority is to get the rail lines back open.